Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Neca Gargoyles Brooklyn and Broadway Ultimate Action Figures. I pre-ordered these figures at a bunch of different places. Big Bad Toy Store is the first one to get them. They were also in stock at Target for a brief period of time, but they're sold out now. Really excited to expand on the Manhattan Clan. Although we're still not complete, we still need at least Lexington to complete the main gargoyle characters in the show. But I want so much more than that. It seems like this Neca Gargoyles thing is not quite going according to NECA's plan. When they originally started the line, which was at least 2 years ago, they said their goal was to release one figure a month. We're getting about 3 a year, so I really hope they've gotten through whatever the issues were, and we're going to start getting them out here in a regular consistency. But in the meantime, really excited for these two figures, so let's take a look. Starting off with Brooklyn here, Disney's Gargoyles, Brooklyn, Ultimate Action Figure. Here's Brooklyn on the front. Looks like he's on the Brooklyn Bridge. One side, NECA's Brooklyn, Disney's Gargoyles by NECA. Other side, here he is with the open mouth. On the back, you can see Brooklyn with a bunch of different display options, and here's a checklist of a bunch of other figures. One that caught my attention the most is Lexington, who is not out yet, but the rest of them are all out. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there's his barcode, in case that helps anybody. This is one of NECA's Ultimate figures. You can hear the Velcro window box packaging opened up. You can see Brooklyn on the inside, and then here he is in the package with a bunch of accessories. And then, of course, let's check out Broadway. Broadway, the big fat dumb gargoyle, but still, gotta love him. Disney's Gargoyles, Broadway Ultimate Action Figure. Here he is. Looks like coming soon, Macbeth on Broadway. One side, here he is, big old belly, love it. Other side, his angry face, or maybe this is his eating face. On the back, a bunch of different display options. Of course, he comes with some food and a bunch of other stuff. Once again, Lexington, still not out, the last member of the original Manhattan Clan. The bottom, credits, and here is Broadway's barcode. Also, NECA Ultimate Action Figure. Here's Velcro on the inside. Here's Broadway. And then here he is with all of his accessories. So with no further ado, let's open them up. Alright, now that these figures out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. They both come with quite a bit of cool stuff. In this video, we're going to take a look at each of the figures individually. We'll check out their accessories, height and articulation. 2 new gargoyle releases. That is huge. Before these two, there were a total of 5 releases in about 2 years or so. So, going from 5 figures to 7 in one fell swoop is a pretty impressive amount. Very, very pleased to finally have some more of the Manhattan Clan. In fact, Target.com had the video game Goliath in stock, so there's even another one on the way right now. So, I'm going to start off with Brooklyn, as he's a higher rank in the clan than Broadway. So let's check him out. So here's Brooklyn with all of his accessories laid out. He comes with 4 alternate hands, totaling 6 interchangeable hands, 2 heads, a removable tail, removable wings, a large javelin spear type item, a page from the Grimoire, a spell, some sunglasses. But before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Brooklyn. He was voiced by Jeff Bennett. By the end of the 2nd season, he was second in command of the clan under Goliath. At one point, Hudson was a clan leader, Goliath was his second, but as times have changed, Hudson got old, Goliath took over, and eventually they appointed Brooklyn second in command. So let's take a look. Start with his face here. He's got that beak-looking mouth, kind of a snout, 2 large horns at the top, pointed ears, long white hair. The paint job is good. It's not pure white. Got some, I don't know, black or blue mixed in there as well. Sculpt is phenomenal on this guy. Look how muscular he is. Good paint job. It's not all the sort of orange color. We got a lot of darker spots in there. Some shading. Torso, a little bit twisted. Let's get that fixed. His mouth is articulated. That is fantastic. He's got the loincloth here. Looks like single jointed knees, double jointed elbows. He's got the little talons on his feet. Overall, very good looking gargoyle figure. Really happy to add Brooklyn to the mix. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. I really like the way they made these gargoyle figures. I've seen some people complain that they went sort of the more realistic look, but I would have it no other way. And here's the figure broken down as far as it can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, and let's start off with his hands. So he has a total of 6 hands, 3 right hands, and 3 left hands. Here's a look at his first hands. These are his fists. And here's his second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands for his accessories. And here's his final pair of hands. This is a pair of open hands. Look like they could be scratching hands, grabbing hands, throwing hands, or even climbing hands. Now let's look at his tail. Of course, it is removable. Made of sort of a rubbery material. It has a bendy wiring on the inside, so you can force it to take different shapes and poses. It's got some holes in there to allow it to breathe. It's got a little peg that's going to attach to his butt area, and it is hinged as well. Here's Brooklyn without the tail. You can see a little hole back there the peg will attach into. And then here's Brooklyn with the tail attached. The best way to stand up these gargoyles is to have them leaning back with the tail supporting them. That way it's not such a chore. And while we're on the subject of standing up the gargoyles, and you can see their feet here. They've got the clawed toes at the front, a little talon at the back. Now the easiest way to stand them up is to put them on the ground like that. You've got the back and the front touching the ground, but that's not accurate. To stand them up properly, you're going to want to switch the foot like this, the toes going forward. That way, when they hit the ground, the toes are on the ground, and the back talon never actually touches the ground. Makes it a little bit harder to stand up, but if you have them leaning against the tail, it is no problem at all. It also makes them a little bit taller. That is the way the gargoyle stood in the show. And so technically, you should see Broadway and Brooklyn, Goliath and Hudson standing like this. There are some gargoyles that have different kind of feet, but for those that have feet like this, you want to stand them like that. Now let's check out his heads. He has 2 of them, one with a normal expression, one with an angry, screaming expression. Here's Brooklyn's first head. This one has the normal expression. You can see the pupils in his eyes. And he has the articulated jaw, which is a really cool feature. I love figures that have articulated jaws. And here's his alternate head. This one is angry. Mouth is open. He's screaming. His eyes are pure white. In the cartoon, when they would get angry, their eyes would start glowing. Nice to have both options. Now let's check out his wings. And I can talk all damn day about how Neca messed up the gargoyle's wings. They have these long, wide, outstretched wings, which makes them really inconvenient to display. Sure, they would have those wings when they're gliding or trying to be intimidating on a rooftop, but for the most part, when they're interacting with each other in the castle or whatever, their wings, they should be a lot smaller. They could have relaxed wings. They could have cape-type wings. They use like cloaks. We've been getting some alternate wings with other figures to enhance previous releases, and I appreciate that, but it's really just annoying to have to get extra pieces. Goliath, for example, his wings are so long, they should have included either the cloaked wings or the relaxed wings as a standard kind. Maybe some giant outspread ones as a future release. So they're making up for it, but still they're cranking out these figures with wings that just make them almost impossible to display next to each other. That being said, wings are still good. The inside is fantastic sculpted detail. You can see he has the little sort of hand or claw on the top of the wing. Brooklyn Demona had wings like that. On the outside, it's a totally different color. Also phenomenal sculpting. It's going to attach into his back with this little sort of peg here. Here's Brooklyn without the wings. You can see on the back here, he's got a couple holes to plug them into. And here's Brooklyn with the wings attached. Oh god, I feel like these are even longer than the other gargoyles' wings, or wider. They are massive. It's going to be really hard to put them next to any other gargoyles. Sure, you do have some display options with these wings. And god, it makes it very uncomfortable moving them. It feels like you're just breaking them. They're ratcheted, fall into different places. Now, his are very tight. They're holding their places. My Goliath and Demona, their wings just simply sag down. It's very disappointing. So you can have his wings sort of upright, like he's sort of coming down at somebody. But this, I would say, is sort of the natural way they should look. And then, of course, they're hinged, so you can go forward and back, sort of flap them. But man, these things are just so wide. Here's his page of spells. Now this is one page that was ripped out of the Grimorum. There was an episode in the first season where Demona sort of tricked Brooklyn into getting her the Grimorum. She read the spell and then put Goliath under her control. But of course, Brooklyn is intelligent. He knew the terms of the spell. He ripped the page out of the Grimorum, let Demona have the book, and then Goliath was under Brooklyn's control because he carried the spell. One sheet here, it's got a bunch of illegible writing all over it. It looks ripped, weathered, old, torn. Pretty nice detail. Pretty cool accessory out of a specific episode. And here's the actual Grimorum accessory. This came with Demona. Now you can actually open this thing up. It's a very cool accessory, and it has a page ripped out, but that's not referencing this page. That's referencing the counter spell to when they turn the gargoyles into permanent stone. Here's Brooklyn holding that page from the spell book. Here are his sunglasses. Brooklyn had sunglasses a few different times in the show. The front looks kind of blue, of course. Then we have the frame. Here's Brooklyn without his sunglasses, and here he is with the sunglasses attached. They don't really fit on his head in the traditional fashion. I feel they're kind of looking down a little too much, but it works. Here's his javelin. I believe that's what this is called. It's like when two knights are jousting with each other. Got the spike tip at the base here, and the long spike to attack the other person. Here's Brooklyn holding that accessory. It's long, but not nearly as long as his wings. This item is kind of difficult to put into his hand. For a second there, I thought maybe I broke it, but the bottom comes off. It's sort of pegged here. That way you can take it off, put it in his hand, and put the bottom back together. Less risk of breaking it. And it will be noted, this accessory is labeled as a lance in the description. Now that I've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his measurements. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 7.5 inches tall. And if you want to see how wide his wingspan is, from one side to the other, about 21.5 inches wide. Now for his articulation, starting with his head here. Of course, you can rotate from side to side. You can look up and down about that much. Can tilt his head from side to side. Jaw articulation. He has articulation at the bottom of the head, top of the neck, and the bottom of the neck moves just a little bit as well. His wings, up and down, back and forth. Shoulder on a ball joint goes out a little bit more than 90 degrees. Up, down, around. Joints are a little bit tight, but that's good. A lot of mine have got loose over time. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows, they go all the way in. His wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. Ball joint his torso, rotate around, forward and back. Another one in his waist, rotate around, forward and back, giving him pretty good range of motion in his torso area. I get more out of the torso than the waist. Legs, complete as a splits. Ball joints. The leg can rotate independently of the ball. His legs, they go forward about that much. Back, not much. Single jointed knees, but they go in more than 90 degrees with rotation. And then his ankle, forward and back. Tilt and rock. Then his toes, forward and back. Also tilt and rock. So, let's talk about Brooklyn's wings a little bit. When I put them in, they were really tight, which at first I was very pleased about because they weren't sagging down like some of the other figures I have. But then I wanted to take them out because frankly, they're just far too big and cumbersome. And I was really worried I was going to break them when taking them out. So I thought to myself, you know what? Let's give him a hot water bath. Get some boiling water into a big old bucket because he's not going to fit into a traditional cup like I normally use. And I'll pull the wings out. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. On the back here, now instead of two little holes, he's got two squares. So I took the wing, put it in there, and as I was pulling it out, I really felt like it was going to break. So I figured I'd heat it up. It took the entire sort of square out of the back And you can see it's even sort of risen there to fit inside, making it harder to pull out. And it happened the same on both of them. And even after I heated it up, I couldn't pull this square out. I mean, if I really, really wanted to, I probably could. So I guess moving forward, the whole square is going to come out with the wings, which really doesn't make much of a difference. Either way, you've got a hole in the back, whether it be a circle or a square. And his hair is going to cover it up anyway. Just be careful. You really don't want to break the wing off in there, because then the only option would be to glue it. This way, it's still going to retain the articulation, and I can take them in and out. And it didn't even occur to me until just now. This is going to be really inconvenient when we get future wings for Brooklyn, because I'm going to be missing the hole they go into. I guess I'll have to try to heat them up, remove that square piece, put it in there, glue it in there a little better, and then hope for the best moving forward. I just don't actually see it really working out the right way. Not to say I look at Broadway. He's always the fat, dumb gargoyle. A lot of times he's comic relief. He's voiced by Bill Faberback, who's most known for doing Patrick and SpongeBob. Broadway here comes with 4 alternate hands, totaling 6 interchangeable hands, 2 heads, removable tail, removable wings, a mace, an axe, some popcorn, a big drumstick of meat, and then some slime. Before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out Broadway. So, here he is. He's got blue skin, it's kind of weird looking ears, mouth. Does not appear to be articulated like Brooklyn. It's a little bit disappointing, but it looks good. He's got teeth sticking out. Kind of has that overbite from his under lip, and it just makes him look dumb. But that's sort of the point. Big old fat belly. See his belly button there. Looks like double jointed elbows, single jointed knees. Same loincloth here, done in blue this time. Hole for his tail. Feet, done in the exact same style. Good looking figure, I'll definitely give it that. Between the mouth and the eyes and the ears, they really captured the look of Broadway. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. I don't know what it is about him, but they really nailed the look of Broadway here. And here's the figure broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, and let's start off with his hands. He has a total of 6 hands, 3 right hands, and 3 left hands. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. Here's his second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands to hold his accessories. I notice his left hand has a giant grip. And here's a third pair of hands. These are some open hands. They could be for grabbing, throwing, clawing, or climbing. Now let's look at his heads. He has 2 of them. One with a normal expression, one with an angry, screaming expression. Here's his first head. This one has a more normal expression. And here's his second head. This one has the angry, screaming expression. Notice the eyes are pure white. Just like Brooklyn, they would glow when they are angry. Now let's look at his tail. Very similar to Brooklyn, made of sort of a rubbery material. It's got little holes that'll breathe. Bendy wire. Articulation at the top there. Here's Broadway without the tail. You can see the hole it will attach into. And here he is with his tail attached. Just like the other gargoyles. Put his tail something like that. Have him lean his weight back against it. And once again, just like the other gargoyles, make sure his feet are done the same way. Put him down. The toes in. And have him stand on his feet like so. Now let's look at his wings. They're very similar to Goliath's. Pretty much the same, but there are some differences. Just like the other ones, it's got a peg that'll attach in there. It's hinged. The sculpting is phenomenal. So is the paint job. Blue, green in the middle. Other side, it's a really dark blue. Like I said, they're similar to Goliath's, but there are some sculpting differences. Here's Broadway without his wings. Flip him around, you can see the holes where they will attach. And here he is, with his wings attached. They're really, really wide, but not as wide as Brooklyn's. Similar articulation, they go up, they go down, they're hinged as far as going backward, and they're just far, far too big. Now, one good thing about this gargoyle and his wings, Broadway here is bald. A lot of the other figures Their hair will really sort of mess up the articulation of the wings. It will also force the gargoyle's head to look down because they got the hair over the wings here. Luckily, Broadway does not suffer from this problem. Here's Broadway wearing Goliath's cloaked wings. These came, I believe, with Bronx, intended to enhance Goliath. A future figure is going to come with some wings like this for Broadway, I'm sure. Not exactly the same, but they're going to be darn similar. I personally want to see some wings that are not completely upstretched and not cloaked wings, but just behind them, up and down a little bit, so they're not nearly as wide as they are. Those are the wings the figure should have originally came with. Now check out the rest of his accessories. So we got this piece of slime here. This was hanging in sort of the nursery where the gargoyles came. He started eating that off the ceiling, where the gargoyle said, if we're down here long enough, he'll start eating us. Then we have this bag of popcorn. As you can see, it says popcorn. Got some popcorn at the top. Not much else going on there. Here's Broadway holding that bag of popcorn. I guess we can see what that large gripping hand is for. He also comes with this drumstick. It's a large drumstick here with some bites taken out of it. Looks pretty good. I remember in the first episode, he's eating a drumstick like this. They're being attacked by Vikings, and he uses the drumstick to knock out the Viking. Yeah, it's dumb, but very fitting for Broadway. And here's Broadway holding that drumstick. It can be a weapon or food. And then speaking of weapons, he has two more. He's got this mace here, which looks very nice. Little wrap around the grip area where he's going to hold it. And he also has this axe here. Also looks pretty good. You can see it's got some sort of cuts and stuff. It's been used. Once again, wrap around the handle area. Here's Broadway holding the mace. And here he is holding that axe. Broadway's wings are very similar to Goliath's, and I feel like they're going to be having some problems in the long run. They're not nearly as tight as Brooklyn's wings, which makes me feel like I'm not going to break it when I move them, but I feel like over time they're not going to sit up quite the way they should. I already feel it happening. This one should, I think, stick up a little bit like this. It just sort of sags down. A little bit disappointing. He's going to need some cloak wings or relaxed wings, smaller wings. In fact, they all do, but some of the quality is just rough on the wings. They're too big. They don't do what they're supposed to do. They don't stay upright. They just sag, fall down. Awesome, awesome figures, but they really have to fix this piece of the puzzle. And now for his measurements. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 7 inches tall. And if you want to know his wingspan, from one to the other, about 19.5 inches wide. Now for his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, he can rotate from side to side. He can look up and down about that much. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Wings, they're hinged, and they have rotation. Shoulders on a ball joint, barely goes up at all, way less than 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows. His wrists, it can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. His torso, he's got a ball joint, rotate around. Forward and back, not much. In his waist, also rotate around. Forward and back, pretty much not at all. Between the two, they can rotate, no problem, but they can't do much else. Pretty limited. Legs, complete as splits. Ball joints, they can rotate independently of the ball. They go forward, about that much. Single jointed knees, they go in way more than 90 degrees with rotation. Then his ankle, forward and back, tilt rock, and then his toes, forward and back, also tilt rock. Here are these two gargoyles standing about as close as they can to one another with their wings outstretched. Social distancing will be no problem for these guys. They can't get anywhere near each other like this. You can see just how much wider Brooklyn's wingspan is than Broadway's. And if you look in the back, you can see how Broadway's left wing is sagging more than his right wing. Disappointing again. Shaking my head, Neca, at this wing situation. These should not have been the first wings you gave us. These are almost unmanageable. Don't get me wrong, they look quite impressive, as widespread as they are, but so problematic in every possible way, shape, and form. Here are the two gargoyles chilling in the castle. I took their wings off, as they're far too big to have them inside of a building walking around together. I'll just pretend like their wings are relaxed or cloaked, at least until we get some better for them, which is coming. And here's a look at both the gargoyles. Wings out, angry faces, claw hands out there, ready for action, trying to intimidate somebody, and they're gonna follow through. And I hate to say it, they just overall look much better without the wings in. The wings are just far too long, and they don't look like that most of the time in the episode. Normally their wings are sort of in an up and down position behind them. I call that the relaxed wings. This time, when I took Brooklyn's wings out, they actually kept the square part inside. I didn't heat them up, they weren't as soft. I just said screw it, and I yanked as hard as I could. Came off, kept the squares in there, which is good for future references. But in addition to that, when I put the guy into hot water, it looks like it messed up the paint on Brooklyn here, which is really weird. If you get it a little bit wet, it looks normal, but as soon as it dries, it has that sort of faded look to it, which really sucks. If anyone knows the solution to that, let me know. God, I may have to already replace my Brooklyn figure, and that sucks. I ended up putting a little coating on his wings there. Now, not perfect, but it's a whole lot better than it was before. I can sort of see the parts where the paint faded off, but boy, it is not noticeable like it was before. So at least I salvaged that point of view. And in addition to that, so Brooklyn has huge opportunities with his wings as far as them getting stuck in there, as far as them being far too wide, as far as the paint looking faded. And then Broadway's wings, they fit okay, but they're already loose. His left wing is sagging down and won't stay up. Very frustrating. Some potentially awesome figures with this huge drawback there. Hopefully, a year or two from now, we'll have an alternate pair of wings for each one of the gargoyles, and that'll sort of solve that problem. But I can think of so many ways they could have done it better. The wings here, the peg here is more or less a perfect circle. It could be more like sort of a pentagon or something with sort of 5 different notches there. That way it would stay into each place. You'd have to take it out and put it back in. Take it out, put it back in lower. Would have been a much better way to execute the wings. Next, let's check these gargoyles out in front of different various castle-type dioramas. The diorama they've been in front of pretty much the entire video are 2 Mezco 1/12 scale Frankenstein doorways, and then 1 Mezco Silent Screamers Gollum doorway. Here's Brooklyn and Broadway in front of the old Kenner Gargoyles castle. This is from the old school Kenner Gargoyles action figure line from way back in the day, and I'm happy I have the castle from it. This castle diorama can fold up, open up, and expand. It's not a bad background piece for these figures. It has both an exterior and an interior for this playset. And here they are, in front of the Mattel He-Man Master of the Universe Castle Grayskull. This is the large Matty Collector exclusive. This diorama can totally open up. It has both an exterior and an interior that is very spacious, has plenty of levels, tons of room for your gargoyles, unless you have those giant-ass wings on them. Here are all the gargoyles inside of this He-Man castle. They scale up decent. They actually have complete clearance of their heads on each level. Can't wait to add Lexington to the mix. And here are the gargoyles in a 12-world castle or dungeon. A little bit underscale for them, but looks really good. And here they are in the Extreme Sets dungeon castle diorama. This is the largest, most spacious castle that I have. Perfect for these gargoyles. Here they are in this diorama without their wings. Except for Goliath. He has his cloaked wings. I believe they came with Bronx. Looking forward to getting those for some of the other gargoyles. And here they are in this castle diorama with their wings attached. Even with the wings overlapping, I mean, look at Hudson and Goliath, Brooklyn and Broadway. It is so hard to fit them in there. Even these 4 gargoyles, they just do not really fit properly unless you have the wings covering up one another. The wings look amazing, impressive, and massive by themselves. They have a nice presence to them, but they are just not practical. These should not have been the first set of wings they gave us. and then the quality control. You know what? It's kind of weird. My Goliath wings never stay up, but they're staying up right now, no problem. Now let's check them out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other Neca Gargoyles figures. Here they are, next to Goliath, the leader of the clan, the largest gargoyle. Here's Goliath with his relaxed wings. He's the only gargoyle so far to have them. Actually, correct myself, these are his cloaked wings. The relaxed wings would be the wings sort of a normal pose behind them. That's the wing that they should have come with. But I'll try to stop complaining about that. He looks really good with his wings like the rest of them. For now, I'm just going to display them without the wings, and that kind of sucks. It makes the figures feel incomplete. I know eventually we're going to get them all, but man, frustrating. Here they are, next to Hudson, the former clan leader. Then, next to Bronx, the clan's faithful pet. Here's the entire Manhattan clan that they've made so far. It is almost complete, at least with the original members. We just need Lexington to complete the core group. Eventually they're going to release Angela as well. Then the clan will really be complete, at least as far as the end of Season 2. But personally, I want Coldstone to join them before I'll consider mine complete. And it looks like that's going to come in the near future too. Of course, the collection will not be complete until we have Santos in a suit, Lisa Mazza, and then I'll just want more and more and more. I hope they do Owen next, Macbeth, etc., etc. And you gotta have some gargoyle villains. Here they are next to Demona. She used to be in their clan. Now she's their enemy. And here they are, next to Thalog. This is a clone of Goliath, and is the exact same sculpt. Here's the entire Neca Gargoyles collection. The next release is the video game Goliath. I believe there's actually 2 different versions of those coming, one of which is in stock at Target, or at least it was a couple days ago. Mine's on the way. And I would like to think the next release is going to be Lexington, but I'm not really sure of that. We really need to complete this clan. I believe Angela, Elisa, the Steel Clan robot are all right around the corner, but at the rate Neca's been releasing them, it's going to be another 18 months. I hope that is not the case. Hope they're all out before the year ends. In addition to that, I hope this line goes on and on and on. Hope it goes as far as Ninja Turtles did, goes really deep into the Gargoyles animated collection. They could even do some of the canon comics. I would love to see the entire pack. I know we're getting Macbeth. I personally would like to see Cold Fire, Cold Steel, the Mutates, Gargoyles from the different various clans around the world. It just goes on and on and on. Owen's pretty high up on the list too. Now let's check them out. Next is some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how they fit in, both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix them with. Since they're Neca figures, they're typically 7-inch scale, and gargoyles are usually a little bit bigger than men, at least some of them. Broadway and Brooklyn here seem pretty in line with a 6-foot-tall human. I'm going to start my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my smaller. But first, let's check them out with some of their Neca brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from Neca Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next to even more Neca figures, here they are, next to some more Neca horror and monster type figures. These are a little bit larger. And now, next to some Jakks Pacific Wrestling figures, and here they are, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Here are these gargoyles, next to a jar of Planters Peanuts. Then, next to some McFarlane toys, and here they are, standing with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures, and now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here they are, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. Then, with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here they are, next to some Mayfix figures. Then, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here they are, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, these are some very nice figures. They look absolutely fantastic. Paint, sculpt, excellent. Accessories are plentiful, really cool. Articulation is pretty good, impressive. Now, the big problem with these guys are the wings. The wings are just too big. They look great, but they're not very practical. these should be the variant wings we would get at a later date. They should have what I would call the relaxed wings, which are the wings when they're sort of upright behind them. We have the outstretched wings, what they come with, relaxed wings, which I want, and then cloaked wings, which is probably what we're going to be getting, which is better than nothing. Now, Brooklyn. It almost seems like they made the wings worse. They're even longer. They're harder to get in and out. Very frustrated with that. I actually pulled the square piece out of his back. They're back in there now, and I can tortine the wings in and out without them coming out. But I really thought I was going to break them. Then I put them in hot water, and I totally messed up the paint job there. Although I did fix that. Still, mixed bag here, even with all their flaws, which is mainly just the wings. I don't like that I have to display them without the wings. They look so much better with them, but it just doesn't work when they're like inside of a building with these wings. They can't even get next to another gargoyle or even next to a wall without being about 6 feet away. Even with the flaws, I love these figures. They look awesome. I love gargoyles, love the cartoon, love the action figure line. Really just wish the wings were different. If I were to rate these guys, it's a rough one. God, if only the wings were good, they'd both be getting 8.5s or so. With their flaws, I'm going to give them a 7.5. Both these guys, they're excellent, great additions to the Manhattan clan, and I cannot wait for more gargoyle figures. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.